A man by the name of Kurt has been attempting to gain notoriety online for many years. On his YouTube account KurtzWorld96, he posts a variety of content, including Draw My Life videos, reviews of shoes, gaming, and discussions about his preferred keyboard shortcuts. Additionally, he brags about his DJ father Chris, who long ago got divorced from Kurt's mother and works as a DJ. Kurt resolved to be a good son and live with her while earning money by babysitting because his mother had been so unhappy over this. Kurt hasn't been able to attract a consistent following for his videos despite how much he records. His numbers have never exceeded double digits. This is extremely unlike to Bobby and his YouTube account Bobby Basecamp, a youngster Kurt formerly babysat who is now a well-known influencer. Bobby doesn't really accept Kurt as a buddy. Instead, he merely pulls him away from his own camera while tolerating him. Kurt hits a breaking point after 10 years of unsuccessful streaming and decides to give his channel one final go with a video he calls The Lesson, that teaches viewers how to build an online audience. The first part of the lesson, he says, is to prepare your car by filling it with cameras and water bottles. If you don't film yourself, you don't exist. Kurt will utilize this vehicle to drive for the ride-sharing company Spree. The first passenger he picks up is a man who refuses to fasten his seatbelt and expresses mistrust of the cameras. But Kurt just explains that they are there for security. Kurt is concerned that this man, who also promotes white supremacy, could harm his live streaming audience, at the moment Bobby, so he starts driving a little more dangerously. Kurt just tells the man to consume his free bottled water despite his complaints. In fact, the water has been poisoned, and Kurt even created a whole video instruction on how to do it covertly. Then, while the man expires in his rear seat, coughing away his life, Kurt turns on some music and blows past a stop sign. Bobby, Kurt's only watcher, believes that the kill was all staged to garner more views, but Kurt is okay with this since it fits with the lesson. Initially, no one should be able to tell that what he's doing is real because he wants to complete as many unnoticed in order to garner as much attention as possible in the future. A snarky realtor arrives as Kurt's next passenger and places her sign in the trunk. She chooses to go for a water bottle after some small talk, swiftly becoming Kurt's second victim. In order to adequately capture the body on camera, Kurt moves to the rear seat. He even makes the joke that he might even sip some water. Chris contacts Kurt at that time to request a ride, but Kurt simply hangs up. He then makes a move to hide his tracks. He uses the lady's dead face to unlock her phone, awards himself 5 stars on the Ride app, and then replies to a text message with a derogatory comment so the woman won't be expecting him for a business meeting. Kurt picks up an unpleasant meathead called Mario as his next passenger after disposing of the dead. Mario objects when Kurt attempts to play some of his own music, and he also won't touch the complimentary water. Then, disregarding Mario's protests because he was the one who selected the pool option, Kurt makes a side trip to pick up another passenger. Jessie, a well-known influencer and stand-up comedian, is the passenger. When she hears Mario making sexual advances toward her, she immediately cancels the trip and leaves. Kurt offers to drive her for free to get her into the car after Mario forces him to follow her. Kurt notices she has a large following when he is driving and inquires as to how she achieved this. She replies that she is simply entertaining. Jessie, who is tired of these two weird males bothering her, decides to video everything for her social media before exiting the car while Kurt keeps asking for help and Mario starts making highly improper statements about her. Now that Kurt has missed the opportunity to become friends with a really influential person, he is furious. As a result, he abruptly alters course and drives Mario to a faraway construction site. Kurt forces Mario to get out of the car because he has been driving so quickly that he is beginning to feel nauseous and Kurt doesn't want barf on his seats. When Mario complains but still exits to use the restroom, Kurt starts playing his own music loudly and accelerates to ram into Mario's car, sending the body flying above the car and landing on the front windshield for the ideal gory camera angle. Kurt pursues Jessie on social media after disposing of Mario's body and cleaning the vehicle and discovers that she is performing stand-up that evening. Himself interprets this as a sign and claims that Jesse and himself are two significant events taking place on the same night. Since Bobby, who continues to believe the killings are phony, is Kurt's lone tipper and his viewership is still in the single digits, it is obvious that he isn't huge yet. This is due to the fact that he is a very phony creative in general. He frequently plays practical jokes on the homeless, and the one time he purportedly helped them, everything was staged for the camera. This is not Jesse, who is admired for being sincere and accessible. A little bit later, Kurt makes a pit stop at the gas station where he removes the realtor's sign and fills the tank while fighting with Bobby, who advises him to spice up his stream since he's boring. After cleaning the vehicle of all the blood, Kurt decides to add some spice to the situation by driving erratically for his next group of passengers, 3 socialites named Richard, Kendra, and London. London is first delighted because she feels like she's on an adventure and runs to the front seat to talk with Kurt, while Richard and Kendra are initially horrified by the manner Kurt drives. Kurt eventually veers off course once more and takes the group to a junkyard, urging Richard and Kendra to open the sunroof so they can take images for social media. Kurt starts driving faster and abruptly closes the sunroof, trapping his next victims while his song plays in the background. Richard and Kendra play along and genuinely having fun. Kurt then uses a power drill that he has in his car to murder London, while some wild canines from the junkyard leap on Richard and Kendra to feast. Kurt then phones Bobby to get his opinion and drives his car to the car wash. Regrettably, Bobby missed Kurt's triple kill. Kurt simply doesn't interest him, so he really quit watching the webcast. Bobby advises Kurt to be more like Jessie since she comes off as genuine when Kurt asks why he hasn't yet given him a shout-out as promised. Kurt revisits Jessie's social media accounts, but his bitter resentment causes him to make petty remarks like noting that she doesn't even shoot her tails vertically. Kurt, who is enraged, drives to a suburban home while Jessie broadcasts the video she shot in the vehicle to burn Mario and Kurt, then goes to see her grandmother while filming it on social media in order to take excellent care of her. They weren't expecting anybody, so she worries when the doorbell rings, but it's only Mike, another stand-up comic, who wants to talk about some work-related issues. Bobby wants Kurt to go since they are neither coworkers nor friends, and all of this is being stated in front of the camera so that his viewers can hear it on his stream. It turns out that Kurt is actually visiting Bobby. As Kurt approaches and begs for assistance, Bobby taunts him, and as a result, several of Bobby's supporters visit Kurt's stream to witness Kurt's side of the story. Just as his stream finally hits double digits, Kurt abruptly stabs Bobby with a knife. Kurt murders Bobby despite his audience's belief that it is all a fiction as Bobby struggles against him and uses a gun to protect himself. By posting his stream on Bobby's channel, Kurt soars into the triple digits. He even records himself taking a shower to get rid of the blood and searching through Bobby's belongings. His father texts him at that very moment asking for a ride to a concert. Kurt first declines to assist him because he wants to attend Jesse's performance, but when Chris indicates he'll be seeing a well-known DJ, the chat knows the name, and Kurt seizes the chance. As soon as Kurt picks up Chris, their awkward father-son dynamic causes them to get into a fight. The struggle doesn't end until they have to hide the gun since the police are close after Chris is astonished to see Bobby's gun in the car and reprimands his son for it. When they do get to the club, they meet with the well-known DJ known as Uno and ask her if she'll post anything tagging Kurt's channel. She first refuses, but as she grows weary of the situation, she decides to participate in the shout-out in exchange for Kurt taking her to a taco truck. Once they've located a taco truck, Uno asks that Kurt take photographs of her and stand in line for her as payment. Given how lengthy the line is, Kurt tells some revolting tales to frighten people away. Uno, meantime, searches the car for the rifle Kurt stole from Bobby and uses it as a prop for a few selfies. She then takes a glass of water, but it turns out to be one of Kurt's unique concoctions, and she collapses right away. Uno is reduced to a corpse by the time Kurt returns to the vehicle with the meal, and he immediately discards the water bottle. Unluckily, this attracts the notice of the police, who arrive and order Kurt to do a field sobriety test while he poses as though Uno is his girl and has just slept off. Uno awakens abruptly because she didn't drink enough to totally pass out. Upon seeing the police, she becomes terrified and shoots one of them before fleeing. When Kurt uses the opportunity to flee in his car, one of the officers follows him as well. All of this is increasing his live stream audience to quintuple-digit levels. Kurt starts driving like a lunatic in an attempt to escape the police, crashes into a homeless camp, intentionally kills a couple hobos, and then flips his car. In the meantime, Mike, who keeps harassing Jessie and claims to have several contacts, gives her a ride to her event. Before her, this guy also does a little opener, but no one in the audience laughs. But as soon as Jessie takes control of the stage, the crowd goes absolutely crazy, and Kurt is hiding with his pistol in a corner. After a couple of her trademark quips, Jessie discusses her spree experience with Mario and Kurt, claiming that Kurt's obsession with gaining social media followers caused her to think a little bit on her own behavior. High subscription numbers don't guarantee happiness, and no matter how many people watch you, they will just serve to criticize and despise you for their own amusement. She ends her performance by shattering her phone on stage, shocking everyone and putting a stop to her dependency on social media. Kurt is moved by her remarks and resolves to go without creating a scene. However, he finds out that the spree service has been temporarily discontinued as a result of his murderous rampage. Kurt hails a ride using the GoGo app, where he enters the vehicle of a nice man named David. David immediately cracks a joke about not being the insane driver who has been killing people all night. Kurt takes this personally and shoots David in a matter of seconds. Jessie returns to the bar and resolves to get rid of Mike by ordering a go-go since she is fed up with him and the fact that he won't stop recording her even if she deletes her social media accounts. When David's car does, Kurt, who had been driving earlier and whom Jessie had made fun of in her set, discloses to her that he is the driver. Additionally, he informs her that he attended her performance and is aware that she would be unable to call for assistance because she damaged her phone. Kurt tells Jessie that he's bringing her to his house so they can express love instead of hatred, thinking that she's defenseless. But Jessie fights back and strangles him until the car strikes a garbage can. Kurt replies by hitting Jessie, knocking her unconscious, and stops the car in a huff. Then he drags her corpse into his headlights after driving her to his front lawn. He asks the crowd what they think he should do with her, and they say murder her. As his fans flood the conversation, Kurt prepares to drive her over. He loses sight of Jessie as he stops to fix a camera that has fallen, so he gets out of the car to seek for her while the conversation calls him out for his stupid decision. The audience was correct. Jessie took advantage of the opportunity to climb in the car, take the wheel, and promptly run down Kurt. Kurt has enough space to avoid the collision until she loses control of the vehicle and drives it straight through the side of his house. When Jessie pushes him away, Kurt escapes into another room. He then attempts to murder Jessie by shoving her face into the airbag. Chris comes and is surprised to see the house wrecked with Kurt's mother dead on the floor as Jessie attempts to persuade the viewers that she needs assistance and that this is real. Then it becomes clear that Kurt killed her off-screen just before leaving to provide the lesson, making her his first victim. Kurt suddenly emerges, takes Bobby's revolver from his car, and uses it to rapidly kill his father by shooting him many times. Jessie attempts to get away in the meanwhile, but when driving in reverse doesn't work, she instead presses Kurt up against the wall while driving ahead. Kurt is still alive when Jessie checks on the body as instructed by the conversation. While a flashback to a few minutes earlier depicts Kurt feeling like a champ since he had 50,000 people watching, she is obliged to finish the job by hitting his skull with his phone in the present. Then, when the conversation requests a selfie with the body, Jessie obliges. Kurt's case becomes viral the next few days. Kurt is viewed as a hero by some of the scummier areas of the internet, such as 4chan and Reddit, even though he is hated by all reporters. Jessie becomes more well-known than ever as a multimedia queen. As the love for Kurt grows on these forums, a user discloses that Spree, a film about him, is currently in production.